The aisle was empty beside me. My dad refused to walk me because my stepmom said I was stealing her daughter's spot. The music started, everyone turned to look at me alone. I took a deep breath when someone unexpected took my arm. 100 missed calls. The aisle was empty beside me. The string quartet kept playing, violins weaving through the air like nothing was wrong. But every note stabbed a little deeper, reminding me of the one thing missing him. My bouquet felt heavier than it should have. White roses, the kind my dad used to bring home for my birthdays. Funny how they smell different when you're holding them alone. People whispered as I walked. I could feel their eyes tracing the space to my right. That gap where a father's arm should have been. I told everyone he was sick, that it was sudden, that he wished he could be here. Lies glide easier than tears when mascara costs a fortune. The truth he refused. My own dad refused to walk me down the aisle. And all because my stepmother, the woman who spent years polishing her perfect family image, said I was stealing her daughter's spotlight. The music swelled. My fingers tightened around the bouquet. I smiled for the cameras, for my groom, for everyone who didn't know the storm behind that smile. Then my phone buzzed, tucked secretly in the seam of my dress, a message, his name on the screen. We need to talk. Even on my wedding day, he still had the power to shake me. I looked toward the church doors, half expecting him to walk in. He didn't. That's when I realized maybe the aisle was empty for a reason. I was 16 when everything changed. Dad met her at a real estate gala. Patricia, she was polished, charming, all pearls and praise. The kind of woman who could smile while calculating. I remember how she'd laugh at everything he said, touching his arm just a second too long. 6 months later, she was living in our house. I tried. I really did. I told myself, Dad deserved to be happy, but Patricia never wanted a daughter. She wanted a mirror and I didn't fit her reflection. Her own daughter Haley was a year younger than me, soft-spoken, perfectly dressed and effortlessly adored, the kind of girl who never had to try to be loved. When Dad looked at her, his face softened in a way I hadn't seen in years. When he looked at me, he hesitated. It started small comments about my clothes, my attitude, my tone. Patricia would smile and tell me she was just trying to help me be more ladylike. Then came the comparisons. Haley's grades are better. You should learn to cook like Haley. Your father worries you might end up alone, Lydia. Every word chipped away at something sacred between Dad and me. One night I overheard them arguing. My name's sharp in the air, she's just jealous. Patricia said, You give her too much freedom. She's trying to take what's Haley's. She's my daughter. Dad's voice cracked. Exactly. Patricia snapped. And she's using that to manipulate you. That night, Dad didn't come to my room like he used to. No soft knock, no good night, just silence. Weeks later, he missed my choir performance. Said he forgot. Then he missed my graduation photos. Each absence was its own betrayal. When I left for college, Patricia stood by the car and smiled that polite, hollow smile. Good luck, Lydia. Don't forget where you came from, she said like a warning, not a blessing. I turned to Dad for one last hug. He held me, but it felt formal, like two people saying goodbye out of duty, not love. That night, when I unpacked in my dorm, I found a small velvet box hidden in my suitcase. Inside was my late mother's locket, the one Patricia had once called tacky. A note in Dad's handwriting read, Your mom would be proud. Don't let anyone dim that light. I held that locket tight, whispering a promise to the woman I missed more than anyone. When no one stands beside you, stand taller. The first year on my own felt like learning to breathe underwater. College wasn't glamorous. Cheap coffee, sleepless nights, secondhand everything. I waited tables between classes pretending my feet didn't ache and my pride wasn't bleeding. Every tip felt like proof I could survive without anyone's permission. Sometimes when I walked past families laughing over dinner, I'd feel that familiar sting. I'd clutch my mother's locket like it was armor, whispering her words. When no one stands beside you, stand taller. My major was architecture, a choice Dad once called impractical for a girl. That sentence became fuel. I traced blueprints late at night, headphones blasting, eyes burning from exhaustion. The campus library staff knew me by name. Lydia Hart, the girl who never went home for breaks. During my junior year, I met Eleanor Pierce, a retired architect who lectured part-time. She wore bright scarves, spoke like thunder, and saw right through excuses. The first time she reviewed my design, she said, "You have vision, kid. You just don't believe it yet." She became my mentor. Tough, unfiltered, but deeply kind. She'd bring me coffee during all-nighters, and tell stories about being the only woman in the boardroom back in the 8s. People underestimate women until we make them regret it. She'd grin. Under her guidance, I landed an internship at a boutique firm in New York. I couldn't afford the city, but I made it work. Couch surfing, eating dollar pizza, sketching buildings between subway rides. When my first paycheck came, I sent half back to pay off student debt. The other half went into a savings account labeled Freedom. Years blurred from intern to assistant, assistant to lead designer. Every promotion felt like reclaiming a piece of myself. Patricia tried to erase. There were lonely nights too. Birthdays spent in empty apartments, scrolling through photos of Dad and Haley smiling on social media. Patricia always tagged them family goals. I stopped checking after a while. My world became my work. I poured everything into it. Pain, hunger, hope, and slowly I built something solid. At 29, I launched my own studio, Heartline Designs. It started in a cramped, rented space above a bakery. The walls smelled like cinnamon and ambition. Clients came slow at first. Then word spread, the young architect who rebuilt old homes with soul. My first big project was a community center in Brooklyn funded by a nonprofit that believed in women-led firms. When we unveiled it, Eleanor was there in the front row beaming. "Your mother would have loved this," she whispered. I wanted to believe that. By 32, I owned that entire building. By 33, I bought my own home. Not a mansion, but mine. Every brick, every beam earned. Still, I kept my success quiet. Online, I posted sunsets and coffee cups. Never boardrooms or contracts. When Dad called on holidays, I told him I was keeping busy. He never asked what that meant. Sometimes I wondered if Patricia still thought I was chasing her daughter's shadow. But standing on the balcony of my office, city lights glimmering below, I finally understood. I wasn't stealing anything. I was reclaiming everything that was already mine. The message came on a Sunday afternoon. Short, almost apologetic. "Haley's getting married. She'd love for you to come." It was from Dad. No. "How are you?" No acknowledgement of years of silence, just a polite invitation, like I was a distant cousin, not his daughter. I stared at the text for a long time. Part of me wanted to delete it. Another part, the little girl, still clutching that lock, it whispered that maybe this was the moment. 2 weeks later, I walked into the same town I'd once fled from. The same church, the same stained glass windows that used to cast colors across my childhood. Patricia spotted me first. Her smile was thin and tight. The kind women were when they realized their plan didn't quite work. "Lydia." "Oh, you came," she said, brushing invisible dust off my sleeve as if she owned me. "Of course," I said softly. "Wouldn't miss it." Haley looked radiant. Soft curls, white lace, eyes that had always been kinder than her mother's. She hugged me like none of it ever happened. And for a moment, I believed her. Then I saw Dad. His hair had thinned, his shoulders slumped a little, but his eyes, those were the same, familiar, cautious. "You look different," he said, as if searching for a safe word. "Time does that." I smiled. We exchanged small talk. Weather, travel. Nothing real. But when Patricia looped her arm through his, the same old ache resurfaced. Some wounds don't reopen. They just hum quietly under the surface. After the ceremony, there was a reception at a country club. Crystal chandeliers, champagne towers, and money everywhere. Patricia's favorite environment. People kept asking what I did, who I'd married, where I lived. I kept my answers vague. I'd learned long ago that mystery is the best revenge. Then came the moment, Patricia's toast. "Family," she began, her voice syrupy sweet. "Isn't about blood. It's about loyalty and love." She glanced at me when she said loyalty. My stomach turned. When she finished, I clapped politely, then stood. "Beautiful speech," I said, smiling. "But you know, sometimes family is about forgiveness too." The room went still. Even the violinist paused mid-note. Actually, I continued, I have something to share. A bit of an announcement since we're celebrating love and loyalty. Patricia's eyes narrowed. Most of you don't know me well, I said. But I'm Lydia Hart, founder and lead architect of Heartline Designs. My firm recently completed the renovation of the new downtown art center. A murmur rippled through the room. Someone whispered, "That place? That's her." Dad blinked, stunned. "You did that?" I nodded. And a few others. The City Hall extension, the Riverside Pavilion. I smiled at Haley. "Even the bridal venue you're standing in." Haley gasped softly. Patricia went pale. "Wait," Patricia said, laughing tightly. "You're saying this place?" "Yes," I said. "I designed it. I own it." I looked at her directly, not angry, not smug. Just study. "So, in a way, you're my guest today." The silence that followed was thick enough to taste. Dad's glass trembled slightly in his hand. His eyes, proud, broken, regretful, darted between Patricia and me. "Lydia," he finally whispered. "I had no idea." "You weren't supposed to," I said gently. "You made it clear you didn't want to see what I could become." Patricia tried to speak, but her words stumbled. For once, she had no script. I turned to Dad, voice low but firm. "You didn't walk me down the aisle," I said. "But you should know I walked myself all the way here." The violinist started playing again slowly, softly. And I swear for the first time in my life I saw my father look at me, not with doubt, but awe. After the wedding they found me outside, standing beneath the string lights, letting the night air wash away the noise. Dad approached first, hands shaking slightly. Patricia followed, 2 steps behind, still clutching her designer clutch like it could save her. "Lydia," he began, voice rough. "I didn't know how much you'd accomplished." I'm proud I finished for him softly or surprise. He looked away both. Patricia spoke next. "You have to understand, things were complicated. We only ever wanted what was best for you." I laughed, quiet, controlled, but it cut through the night like glass. "You mean what was best for you?" Her lips tightened. "You told him I was jealous of Haley. I said that I was trying to take what wasn't mine. But you were wrong, Patricia. I never wanted your daughter's spotlight. I just wanted my father's respect." Dad swallowed hard. "I see that now. I made mistakes." "Yes," I nodded. "You did, but the bigger mistake was believing her version of me instead of asking for mine." He didn't argue. His silence was confession enough. For a moment, I let the quiet hang between us. The same quiet that had filled years of unanswered calls and forgotten birthdays. Then I exhaled. "I don't hate you," I said finally. "I stopped hating a long time ago, but forgiveness isn't the same as access." He blinked. "Access to my life?" I said simply. "To my peace," Patricia stiffened. "You can't mean that." "He's your father and he'll always be," I replied. "But if he wants a relationship now, it has to be built on truth, not guilt, not your whispers." I turned to Dad. "So, here are my conditions." His expression tightened, but he nodded. "All right. When I said, holding up a finger, you stop letting other people define your daughter. You want to know who I am? Ask me. Show up. Don't send Patricia to do it for you." He nodded slowly, eyes wet. "2, I continued. "If you come into my life again, you come with respect for the woman I've become, not pity for the girl you left. And 3, I glanced at Patricia, her jaw tightening. "You let go of the need to compete because I'm not playing your game anymore. I built my own field." She looked away, her face unreadable. Dad reached out, hesitating, then touched my hand. "I want to try, Lydia. I don't know if I deserve a second chance, but I want to try." I studied him for a long moment. There was pain there, yes, but also humility. And maybe that was enough to begin something new. "Then start small," I said. "Lunch next week. Just you and me." His eyes brightened. "I'd like that." Patricia started to protest, but he silenced her with a quiet, firm look I'd never seen him give her before. "You heard her," he said gently. "Just me and Lydia." For the first time, I didn't feel like the outsider in my own story. I felt like the author. As they walked away, Patricia's heels clicking sharply against the pavement, I touched the locket around my neck. When no one stands beside you, stand taller. Tonight, I wasn't just standing tall, but was finally standing free. A week later, I sat in a small cafe downtown. The kind with chipped mugs and real coffee, not the kind served in fragile cups that smell like money. Dad was late, but only by a few minutes. When he walked in, he looked nervous, like a man stepping into a confession booth. He wore the same old watch I gave him when I was 12, the one Patricia once said looked cheap. "Hi," I said, smiling. "Hi," he echoed, sitting down carefully like the chair might break under the weight of all our unsaid ears. We didn't talk about the past at first. We talked about simple things, my projects, the city, how Haley's honeymoon got delayed, and for the first time in decades, I saw something in his eyes that I hadn't since I was a little girl. Pride unfiltered and raw. "I should have been there for you, Lydia." He finally said, "Every time you needed me, I chose peace over truth. I thought silence was safer." "It's okay," I said. "You can't rewrite what's gone. You can only show up for what's left." He nodded, eyes glistening. "Then I'm here now." We sat quietly for a while, the kind of silence that doesn't ache anymore. It just breathes. Before we left, he pulled something from his pocket. The little velvet box that once held my mother's locket. Inside was a folded piece of paper. "For your next design," it said in his handwriting. "Maybe a home one with room for both of us." I couldn't speak. I just smiled. And for the first time, it didn't hurt to do so. Patricia never reached out again. Maybe she finally realized she'd lost control over a story she never owned. Haley, though, sent a postcard months later, a picture of the venue I'd built with 2 words scribbled on the back. "Thank you." I framed it. Life moved on. Not perfectly, but honestly, my work grew. My heart softened. And one spring morning, I found myself sketching a chapel design. Sunlight streaming through my studio windows. The sound of laughter from the street below. That's when I realized I wasn't drawing for clients anymore, but was drawing for myself. For the girl who once walked down an empty aisle, wishing her father had been there. I set my pencil down, touched the locket around my neck, and smiled. "When no one stands beside you, stand taller." I whispered it once more, not as armor, but as gratitude, because the aisle beside me might have been empty that day, but the woman who walked it, she was never alone.